A man bought a private jet for $12 million. 6 months later, he was desperately trying to give it away. Not because he lost his fortune, not because he stopped flying, but because he discovered something about airplane ownership that nobody warned him about. And what he found out will completely change how you think about money, wealth, and what the ultra-rich actually know that you don't. Here's the thing nobody says out loud at the air show. The moment you sign those papers and take the keys, the airplane stops being exciting and starts being expensive, whether it flies or not, whether the weather cooperates or not, whether you feel like going anywhere or not. A private jet parked in a hangar can quietly drain $3,000 from your account every single day, doing absolutely nothing. So here's the question that should be keeping you up at night. If airplane ownership is this brutal, why do thousands of the world's smartest, most successful people keep buying them every single year? The answer isn't what you think. And by the end of this video, you'll understand it completely. Let's start with the purchase, because this is where most people's assumptions completely fall apart. Most people believe buying an airplane is impossible unless you're a billionaire. That's wrong. A used single-engine aircraft can cost less than a new family SUV, but comparing that to a modern business jet is like comparing a bicycle to a Formula One car. Small recreational aircraft, tens of thousands, maybe a few 100,000. High-performance turboprops, several million. Business jets, the kind that fly executives across countries without waiting at a single security line. Easily $10, $20, $30 million or more. And then there are commercial airliners. A brand new Boeing 787 can carry a list price of over $300 million. And yet, airlines order dozens of them every single year. How is that possible? Simple. Almost nobody buys an airplane with cash. Banks finance them. Leasing companies handle them. Fractional ownership programs let multiple buyers split one aircraft and share the costs. The same logic you use to buy a house works for an airplane, so the purchase price, as terrifying as those numbers sound, is almost never the real problem. The real trap is what happens the very next morning. This is the part that destroys first-time owners. They budget carefully for the airplane. They completely forget to budget for keeping it alive. And an airplane that isn't being carefully maintained isn't an asset. It's a liability with wings. Let's talk fuel first. A business jet burns several hundred liters every hour of flight. Large commercial aircraft burn thousands of liters on a single route. Multiply that across hundreds of annual flight hours, and fuel costs alone become staggering. But here's what will genuinely surprise you. Experienced aircraft owners will tell you, fuel isn't what scares them. Maintenance is. By law, every aircraft must pass scheduled inspections on a strict, non-negotiable timeline. Not when you feel like it, not when something sounds wrong. On a calendar that never stops. Engines, landing gear, hydraulics, electronics, control systems. Every component on the entire aircraft must be examined, tested, and certified before that plane is legally allowed to carry a single passenger. Miss one inspection, and the airplane stays on the ground, full stop. But even that isn't the number that makes experienced owners go pale. The engine overhaul is. Every aviation engine has a hard limit, a specific number of hours, after which it must be completely removed, dismantled piece by piece, inspected, rebuilt, and recertified from scratch. The cost for some aircraft? Over $1 million per engine, and here's what makes it even more unsettling. This isn't a surprise bill. Every owner knows it's coming. It's just completely unavoidable. Then add insurance, which is nothing like insuring a car. Aviation insurers examine your total flight hours, your aircraft's value, your routes, your maintenance history, and your pilot certifications. One policy can cost tens of thousands of dollars annually. Add hangar fees. Airplanes don't sit in driveways. At busy airports, hangar space is limited and expensive. monthly fees just to keep your aircraft protected from rain, heat, and corrosion. Then add the people. Many owners don't fly their own aircraft. They hire professional pilots, sometimes co-pilots, cabin attendants, dispatchers, maintenance coordinators, every one of them on a salary, every one of them requiring annual recurrent training in certified flight simulators. Suddenly, owning one airplane stops feeling like owning a vehicle. It starts feeling like running a small company, because at this point, it basically is. So by now, you're probably wondering the same thing everyone wonders at this point. Why on earth would any rational person sign up for this? Here's the answer that changes everything. The people who win at airplane ownership don't think of the aircraft as transportation. They think of it as a business. And just like any business, its success or failure comes down to one simple question. Can it earn more money than it costs to operate? For the smartest owners, the answer is yes. And the way they make that happen is by solving one specific problem. An airplane parked in a hangar earns exactly $0. Every single hour it sits on the ground is a missed opportunity. So the most profitable model is this: charter. Instead of letting the aircraft sit empty between your personal trips, you rent it out. Business executives flying to critical meetings, sports teams traveling between cities, celebrities avoiding crowded airports, families taking luxury vacations without sharing a terminal with 10,000 strangers. They don't want to own an airplane. They just want the experience for a few hours. And they will pay very well for exactly that. Every flight hour becomes revenue. But here's the mathematical insight that separates profitable operators from everyone else. Those enormous fixed costs, the maintenance, the insurance, the crew, the hangar, they don't change whether you fly 20 hours a year or 300 hours a year. They stay the same, but your revenue grows with every flight. Fly more hours, and those fixed costs get divided across more and more trips. Each additional flight becomes more profitable than the last. This is why successful charter operators obsess over a single metric: keep the airplane in the air. Because in aviation, the ground is where money goes to die. Charter isn't the only profitable model. Cargo operators have built entire empires moving urgent packages across countries overnight. Speed has a price in global commerce, and manufacturers, hospitals, and e-commerce companies pay it without hesitation. Flight schools discovered that a single small aircraft can train hundreds of future airline pilots over its lifetime. Every hour a student spends in that cockpit generates income. As long as airlines keep growing, demand for training never stops. But here's the model most people overlook completely: corporate time optimization. A CEO of a multinational company needs to inspect factories in 3 different cities. Commercial airlines? That trip takes 2 full days, minimum. A private aircraft? Done before dinner. The airplane never sold a single ticket, but it just created millions of dollars in value by moving the right person to exactly the right place at exactly the right time. That's not a transportation expense. That's a competitive advantage. But for every operator who cracked the code, there are dozens who learned the hard way. They bought for prestige, not for purpose. The aircraft flew 4 times a month while the insurance, maintenance, and hangar fees arrived like clockwork every single day. What began as the ultimate symbol of success became slowly, quietly, the most expensive mistake of their financial lives. The airplane was never the problem. The business model was. The economics of aircraft ownership are shifting. Electric aircraft are promising dramatically lower operating costs on shorter routes. Sustainable aviation fuel is beginning to address the environmental cost. Digital charter platforms make it easier than ever to keep aircraft booked and flying. But one principle hasn't changed, and it never will. An airplane is not a status symbol. It is a tool. In the hands of a well-managed operation, it creates extraordinary compounding value. In the hands of someone chasing status alone, it quietly destroys extraordinary wealth. So, is owning an airplane actually worth it? Only if every single flight creates more value than it costs to operate. If you're buying one to impress people, walk away now. The math will eventually humiliate you. But if you build a business that keeps it flying, generates revenue on every departure, and treats it like the asset it actually is, you're not buying a plane, you're buying a machine that works for you. If you want to understand how the world's most expensive, most fascinating assets actually generate returns behind closed doors, subscribe to Owner's Economics right now. Every week we break down the real business models driving the world's most interesting industries. No fluff, no filler, just the economics that actually matter. And next week, we're going inside the economics of owning a cruise ship, one floating city, billions of dollars in investment, thousands of employees living on board, and one of the most complex counterintuitive business models ever constructed. Subscribe now, and we'll see you there.